So now that the roots of war have been confirmed to the game and it's been added, plus we have a timeline and when the first phase will begin, I thought what better time would be for us to begin a brand new series on the channel. So starting today, I'll be uploading a series of videos covering every single aspect of the roots of war, starting with the talents of every specific commander in the game mode. So stick around in this video because we'll be starting with the talents of the archer commanders. What is up, guys? Meower here, back with a brand new Call of Dragons video. Before we get started, like I mentioned, we will be having a series on the channel involving everything related to Roots of War, starting with the talents of the commanders to basic tips and tricks to the game mode, plus some basic strategies that you can employ in order to use against your enemies and eventually win. So, to keep an eye out on this content, don't forget to drop a like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. So, Roots of War, we've received a mail earlier today stating when we're going to be starting the game mode. So, the testing will begin on the 15th of July. Qualifying alliances will have 1 day to register, so registration will begin on the 19th at reset, and we'll be able to select a battle time on the 20th. So, next Thursday, I suspect, will be the time for us to start the battle itself. And after we select the time frame, we're gonna have 3 hours worth of matchmaking, and then we're gonna have the desired time. So pretty basic knowledge right now. I don't know if everyone's received this mail or not. I'm still asking around, and I've gathered that some vast majority have received, at least from the earlier servers. So that's a good sign. Anyway, to the topic of this video. So, like I mentioned, I will be having a series of videos that we're going to be dividing some commanders' talents into certain videos. So, we're going to be starting with the talents of most of the archer commanders, aka Kinnara, Nico, Ffraegar, Syndrion, and Gwanwyn Kregg for this video. Do note that I want to clear up some stuff. For Roots of War, all your commanders are going to be level 60, but that doesn't necessarily mean their skills are going to be maxed or their stars are going to be maxed. So you can see some of my commanders are also level 60 here, while in the real game they're not level 60, but their stars and their skills are not maxed yet. So do keep that in mind. That being said, the reason why I'm going to be creating some videos specifically for talents for Roots of War is that because the map is different, so the meta is going to be slightly different in the way you spec your commanders. You want some marchers to be tankier than they were in the open field in the land of Tomaris because you have more mobility and more flexibility there, while you have some marchers that want to do slightly more damage than before, sacrifice a little bit of survivability for exchange for more damage, etc., etc., etc. So that being said, let's get started. So, first of all, we're going to be starting with Kinnara's talents. You've noticed that they've given you some preset talents. They're not necessarily bad, but I feel like we can improve upon these talents much more and get more value for our commanders, even more than we suspect at all. Honestly, I like this talent tree a lot. It looks like quite something that I would use personally. However, I don't prefer the control tree to be a secondary. I would rather have the marksman tree as our secondary with this PvP tree for Kinnara, and I'll explain why for uh, in the video. So you can notice that you can import also your talents, that the ones that you use for the open field yourself, and then add on to them some skill points in order to finish the tree in case you don't have your commanders at level 60 just yet. Anyway, let's get started. So we're gonna be using the manual tree first of all. This is what we're going to be selecting. You can select multiple talents for free. You can always keep switching between them, blah 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 blah, and so on. So we're gonna be going for attack. We're gonna be going for defense. We don't want that much march speed in this mode because for two reasons. The map is extremely small already, so you're gonna be constantly fighting, and it's gonna be really hard for you to escape and maneuver because there are no nodes for you to run around through. So you want to pack as much punch as possible in order to either wipe your enemy or just get wiped, pretty much. Because The reinforcement time is going to be slightly smaller due to the smallness of the map, and there's going to be a lot of choke points. So choke points meaning your marches are going to be less in a threat, and your infantry marches especially. So look, keep a lookout on the infantry video that will be coming as well soon. Are going to be taking more punishment than usual because there's going to be a lot of bridges. There's going to be a lot of choke points, that cliffs, etc., on the map, as that has been confirmed already. So we want our regular marches to pack as much punch as possible, because the moment an alliance's front line falls, that alliance is going to be wiped away. They don't have much options to escape or maneuver around or run around or circle around the enemy. So, um, we can also go for Army of Valor here or Luck of the Draw. I'm going to be going for Army of Valor. I want to do as much damage as possible. I'm going to be taking some counterattack here, and then I'm going to be adding only 1 point into March speed because I want my March to be slightly faster. There's going to be more damage, more damage overall, especially when they are less than 50%. It's not normally recommended, but there are no other options really. And we're going to go for the defense break in order to cycle around our defense break builds. So we're going to go for marksman attack. We're going to go for normal attack range damage. We're going to go for steady shot. Nope, steady shot is not good. My bad. We're going to go for intimidation for more skill damage. And then we're going to go for bullseye. In my opinion, bullseye is just so much better than shower of blows, because bullseye, Kinnara as a commander, especially when she's primary, she relies so much on normal attack damage due to the sheer amount of buffs that she has in her kit. So just giving her more attack damage and more and more and more will only benefit her much more. And then finally, we're gonna put a last point into some extra march speed, and that should be the tree we're gonna be using for Kinnara. Next up, we have our boy Nico. So Nico's tree, as usual, there are a few here, but we have a special tree for every single commander for the Roots of War map, specifically designed for that map. Do note that just because a talent is working in that map does not mean it is the most viable option for the Land of Tamaris. Anyway, we're going to be running the Precision tree as our primary, and the Marksman tree for our secondary build. So we're going to go for more normal attack damage and keep a point for the March speed here. We're going to go for the extra counter attack damage because, well, Nico loves the counter attack, and we don't want to decrease the hero skill damage at all, and we don't really need the less all conquering at all. So we're going to go for Whirlwind because our build is going to have Onslaught coming from another place. We're going to put 3 points here and 2 points here, and then we're going to go for High Spirits because we want to get more rage cycles, and then we're gonna go for the Force of Will here in order to get Onslaught. Normally I would go Intrepid, but when I played with Nico more, I felt like critting is just really not his niche. His niche is more just raw attacking and some slight extra skill damage boosts that we will be getting from the Marksman tree. And then finally, we're gonna go for Mark of Valor. Normal Mighty Slash is just way too underwhelming for having a 50% chance to trigger an additional normal attack damage that can only happen every 20 seconds, while in that time, every 10 seconds, we're going to get an extra 1%, so a total of 3% extra damage in the time where it takes only one cycle for Mighty Slash to go off. Next up, for the Marksman tree, we're going to go for normal attack. We're going to go for fully loaded. We're going to put 4 points here, and we're going to put an extra point for marksman speed, and then we're going to get for intimidation, and then we're going to go for bullseye. Bullseye is just so much better than shower of blows. Shower of blows just has way too much of a percentage chance just to deal an extra 8% more damage, while for bullseye we're guaranteed a lot more normal attack damage even, and that just benefits us on the longer term versus having a rage cycle that occurs every 5 to 6 seconds. And then for our very last point, we're going to be putting it here in the marksman speed just to get that extra move speed overall in order to get to the front lines faster. This will be the Nico build. Next up, we're going to have the where's the other archer commander? Ffraegar. So Ffraegar is one of the newer commanders, of course. You can see here she's got two viable build options, but I think the build we'll be using is just going to be full on marksman tree. specifically for for the roots of war. So we're gonna select this. Then we're gonna go for overall attack. We're gonna go for overall defense, overall HP. The start is always very standard. We don't need this march speed in Roots of War specifically, since we're gonna be getting more march speed from everywhere else. So we'd rather just get that extra 1% defense. It might help us survive. So we're gonna be building around the marksman tree. We're gonna go for fully loaded. I'm gonna put a point here for marksman speed, just in general. We're gonna go for intimidation, bullseye, and here is the crossroads where some might feel confused. So Ffraegar's secondary tree is the mobility tree, which only has really just this as a viable option. Uh, the preemptive preparations. But the rest is just so underwhelming. But we're gonna get preemptive preparations anyways. We're just gonna go for here. We're gonna get the extra attack overall. We're gonna go for the extra counter attack. We can get 2 points here as well, and then 1 point here for the extra march speed. And then we're gonna go for preemptive preparations here, and then we're gonna go for the extra attack to magic units just so we can melt them even further. We're gonna go for the extra binding snare because binding snare is really strong. We don't want callousness because when a commander like Ffraegar, which heavily relies on the normal attack, which really requires a large amount of troops, gets below 50%, her effectiveness is essentially halved because she provides no utility whatsoever. So we don't really want anything that's related to dropping under 50%. However, binding snare could be a good option because when you get hit, you have a chance to slow down the enemies by 20%, giving you an opportunity to melt them or chase them down. And finally, we're gonna go for the extra. We can go for harvest, but it's not guaranteed that you're gonna be defeating an enemy overall in order to make use of it. So we'd rather just put 2 points here, or actually 3 points here, and then 2 points here, just to gain that extra damage dealt overall, because damage is much better than anything else because it increases damage that every single option that you have does. And then finally, we're going to have either pursuit or burst shot. I would prefer going for pursuit in order just to inflict fragility. So they take 10% more normal attack damage for 5 seconds, having a downtime of only 5 seconds. So this will be the Ffraegar build. Next up we have Syndrome. So Syndrome's talent build is going to be an interesting one because you're gonna want Syndrome as a rally because if he works in rallies as we suspect he will, especially if you're a rally leader, then you're really gonna have only one option for him because you got to keep in mind when you're in the roots of war you cannot change your talents. So once you're locked in a talent build you lose a lot of flexibility in there. So you got to keep in mind if you're a rally leader, then just copy this build that I'm going to give you. We're going to go for overall attack or overall defense and overall HP. We're going to go for arrow precision. We want the fair offense talent. We're going to go for overall health. We're going to go for overall attack, and then we're going to go for uh, adrenaline rush. This build is going to be specifically for rallying purposes only. Okay, this build is going to be focused on getting one talent in every single tree just to maximize the amount of normal attack you're going to have. We don't want much effects at all. We just want attack, 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 and just even more attack. So we're going to go for this. We don't want intimidation. And since you are purely using your Syndrome for rallying, nothing else, we're gonna go for steady shot because when you're rallying, range doesn't matter. Okay, so when you are rallying, you're just fighting for stats versus stats. So you want to maximize your stats as much as possible. We're gonna go for shower. No, we're gonna go for Bullseye. Shower of Blows does not work on Syndrome because Syndrome does not have any skill damage whatsoever, and skill damage is only impactful for his Rage skill. I know his last skill does have a 500 damage factor, but it is not considered a skill damage that gets amplified by something such as Shower of Blows. Next up, we're gonna go for Overall Attack. We're gonna go for Adrenaline Rush, and then we're gonna go for Strengthened Weaponry. We don't deal any hero skill damage at all, so losing 1% hero skill damage means nothing for us. And then we're gonna go for uh, Invincible. Probably, yeah. Invincible just sounds so much better because it has no downtime, because Syndrome kind of does two basic attacks at one go. And then finally, for the last thing, we're gonna just get an extra high spirits just to get that extra potential of cycling. Do note this build is purely for rallying purposes, nothing more, nothing less. This does not work in the open field that much because you're basically missing half a talent tree for this. Okay, now if you're gonna be using Syndrome for the open field, we're going to go a different route. We're going to go for the precision tree as our primary. I think this is the build. Uh, yeah, we're going to go for this build. And then we're going to get the marksman here. We're going to get the fully loaded here. We're going to get alert here just to take that extra less damage. We don't want to miss out on any attack range, and we don't really need the hero skill damage at all. We're going to go for bullseye. And then for the last point, we're going to get the cool under pressure. This is the open field build for Syndrome. Okay, so this is the rally purposes only. Let me just make rally purpose only. And here is going to be open field. Okay. Next up, we have our girl, Gwanwyn. So Gwanwyn's build doesn't really have that much flexibility. She's just going to have the precision tree as her primary. Like, I would just recommend this build for her. Like, just gives her everything that she needs. Actually, no, this build is awful. But looks like we're just gonna build her from the get-go. Huh. We're gonna go for overall attack, overall defense, overall HP. We're gonna get the Air of Precision. We're gonna go for the Precision tree as our primary tree. And we're gonna get 4 points in Adrenaline Rush, 1 point in overall speed. We're gonna get Last Words, just for the extra counterattack damage. We want Whirlwind because she doesn't really have that many buffs that need normal attack damage. She'd rather just give her Whirlwind. Next up, we're gonna get 3 points into Cold Under Pressure, 2 points in Irrepressible, and then we're gonna go for the Force of Will just to give her the Onslaught here so she can Rage Cycle more and get more Onslaught. And then finally, we're gonna go for Mark of War. Mighty Slash is just too worthless to even bother with. And then we have the Marksman attack. We're gonna have put 3 points here, 2 points here. And then we're gonna be going for Intimidation just to get her skill damage slightly better, and then 1 point of bullseye. And then for the last point, you can either go for the extra march speed or you can go for extra cool under pressure damage. I would rather go for extra cool under pressure damage. That is the Gwanwyn build. And then finally, our boy Kregg, the last marksman commander in the game, we're gonna go for his build to be a little more interesting, because if you want to have like a speedy flying archer march, we're gonna go for Kregg to be that guy. So we're gonna go for speed. We want as much speed as possible on this build because this build will be like sort of like the build for you to like collect the arc and just not the arc, the crystal, and just run out of there. This build is a glass cannon build. I don't recommend this build unless your job is just to be a runner. We're gonna go for swift maneuvers. We're gonna go for extra marksman speed. This build I don't really recommend. I don't recommend using Kregg as a primary in general, but in case you need a running flying march, then Kregg is your guy. And then we're gonna go for plan B just to get that more march speed in general. And then we don't need Keen. We want hey, no, we don't want haste either. Okay, we want hasty march. And then we want maneuverability. We're gonna put 1 point here in cunning, just to decrease that march speed debuff when being intercepted by 20%, which is gonna be great. And then finally, we're gonna go for passing shadows. This is the correct build. Do note this is for running, only running. I don't recommend this build for any other purposes other than running. Anyway, I do believe that's all the archer commanders that you will be using. Personally, I recommend focusing more on the legendaries than on the epics because, well, as time progresses, epics just lose too much value to bother with them. Anyway, guys, that is it for the builds for these commanders for the Roots of War. If you like content like this, please don't forget to drop a like, discuss the builds with me in the comments, or join our Discord to have much chat with them about them with me, and do let me know your thoughts. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the next video. Meow meow.